you say? Forgiveness is and always will be the high road, the preferred road. Would that we had such luxury. Oh, well, not to worry. It's just a bit of monkshood in your balls.
All right, we just want to provide you a little background for the scene so you understand kind of what's happening. This is from American Horror Story Coven, which is the third installment of the American Horror Story series. So in this scene, it's all about Myrtle Snow with the big red hair. Myrtle Snow is accused of chemically binding fellow witch Cordelia Fox after being framed by Cordelia's mom, Fiona Good, who is the supreme or the big honcho of the witch world. Fiona and Myrtle Snow don't have the best relationship. It's actually quite bad. And Fiona was a pretty bad mom to Cordelia, so Myrtle basically raised her in the Miss Robichaux's Home for Exceptional Young Ladies, which is a place for young witches to hone their powers. Anyways, after being accused of and successfully framed of harming another witch, she is sentenced to burn at the stake by her fellow members of the Witch Council, which is like the governing body there. She came back from the dead later, over the course of a couple months, after being healed and brought back to life by the swamp witch, Misty Day. After being brought back, she wants to help Cordelia, who she practically raised, by getting her a new pair of eyes, so she can be able to see again. So she decides to kill two birds with one stone and enact revenge on the Witch Council and get eyes back by taking an eye from each of the members of the Witch Council to then magically put into Cordelia's body. And then, you know how she does this? She uses monkshood in melon balls, and that they eat that, and then she gets her way.
Aconitine, also known as wolfsbane, queen of poisons, blue rocket, and many other names, is derived from a blue, purple, white, yellow, or pink flowering plant that grows in mountain plains of the northern hemisphere.
Okay, so the history of monkshood. Various species of aconitum have been used for centuries both as poisons and medicines. Some are still being used in traditional medicines of India, China, and Japan. The root is most toxic, although all parts of the plant are considered to be toxic. The toxicity of the extracts follows the same order as the alkaloid content: roots, flowers, leaves, and stems. Extracts of aconitum species have been used orally in traditional medicine to reduce fever associated with colds, pneumonia, laryngitis, croup, and asthma, and anti-inflammatory, hypotensive, diaphoretic, which causes sweating, cardiac depressants, which is slow heart rate, and sedative properties. In traditional Asian medicine, root extracts are typically mixed with other ingredients such as licorice or ginger. Extracts have also been used as arrow poisons.
Active isolates from aconitum and delphinium plants are classified as norditerpenoid alkaloids. It is barely soluble in water, but very soluble in organic solvents, such as chloroform or diethyl ether. Aconitine is also soluble in mixtures of alcohol and water if the concentration of alcohol is high enough. Aconitine is very toxic due to several reactive groups. The nitrogen is one of the 6-membered ring structures that can easily form salts and ions. This turns the molecule into a structure with high binding affinity for polar and lipophilic structures, such as cell membranes and receptors, and makes it possible for the molecule to pass the blood-brain barrier, just like we talked about in class. Aconite root contains chemicals that may improve circulation, but it also contains chemicals that can seriously harm the heart, muscles, and nerves.
Now, as we talked about before, this has been used in medicine. Monkshood has been used in medicine, in case you didn't know what it was. Anyway, but it does take about 20 to 40 milliliters of this poison in order to prove fatal. If you're not dying from it, you'll just get some gastrointestinal problems, including nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And then this is followed by a sensation of burning, tingling, numbness in the mouth and face, burning of the abdomen, and inability to move. Now we saw some of these effects of the poison carried out in the video of them being terrified and not being able to move, and they started to sweat too. Was that from fear of the poison? We don't know, but it happened nonetheless. Oh no.
So why did I just brush up to a purple flower and fall on the ground? I mean, But anyway, a 2014 case has recently showed that there has been a possible monkshood death, or at least using the poison which is contained in the flower. While it doesn't exactly happen like that where you just touch it and die, a man was found collapsed on the scene of his job, which he does landscaping in various places around the world. And after being rushed to the hospital, multiple blood tests were inconclusive as to any reason for his multiple organ failure, which eventually led to his death 5 days later. His father was so distraught and couldn't believe that his son just happened to die because he was perfectly healthy. He took it upon himself to go investigate. He went back to the scene where his son was found collapsed, and that's when the purple flower arose. And after doing multiple testing, it was definitely possible that the poison from the flower is what killed this man. So monkshood is seen in other fictional movies and shows, some of which would be Teen Wolf, which is where monkshood is actually called wolfsbane, and it's harmful to the wolf, so it's a form of defense for their enemies. Harry Potter, wolfsbane again is what it's called, and it's used to prevent Lupin from turning into a werewolf. And then we also see it in some of our favorites and some things we've actually talked about in class before, like Marvel and Game of Thrones.
The toxin created by this plant, called aconitine, has the chemical compounds of C34H47N O11.